All right, welcome back to the Now Morning Show here on a TTT. I am Natalie Legore, and in studio with me at this time, Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith. As a matter of fact, many of you might be curious. Come August the 17th, well, maybe the 18th, will he still be commissioner? We wait to see what the Police Service Commission will do there, and even the Parliament. But that aside, the commissioner is here now. He is the Commissioner of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and some of you love him and some of you probably don't really know what he's about, but you'll find out this morning. Commissioner, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. I noticed you asked about what the PSC will decides, but maybe Gary Griffith will need to decide as well.
Ah, well, Commissioner, do tell. Do tell, because we want the scoop here, you know.
You'll find out on the 18th of August.
Commissioner, come not do with that.
Good morning, how are you?
I am very well. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
All right, I'm definitely happy to have you here with us this morning. So give us a little scoop. Now, are you interested in going back up as Commissioner of Police when your term comes to an end?
I prefer not to make any comment at this time. My focus, I have a 3-year contract. I intend to do the best that I can do for my country. I think I am doing that. And we'll see what happens at that time.
All right, on the date there, August 17th. Pay attention, Natalie.
August, yeah.
All right, so Commissioner, one of the things that I think the population has been struggling with, including myself, are the amount of police-involved killings that we've had. Over the last year, I think last year we had 55, and for the year so far, how much do we have already?
I think it's 14 or 15.
Right, and we're just in April. What do you think has changed where we're having so many more police-involved killing compared to previous years?
Well, it is straightforward, Natalie. It is obviously going to be an issue every time there's a police killing. Every time anyone is killed in this country, because it is a human being. We have lost a life. We've lost a citizen in this country, whether it be the 396 who were killed or the 55 persons who were killed by police officers. The point being is that the catalyst for police officers shooting at persons is because persons shoot at police officers. So if you look at many persons are looking at the 55 persons shot at and killed by police officers, but they are not looking at the fact that there were 90-odd shootings at police officers in 2019, and there were 130 in 2020. Out of those 130 police officers who were shot at or wounded, there were over 90 incidents where persons shot at police officers. So we are speaking at every 4 days, police officers are shot at. And if it increases, obviously there's going to be an escalation in police officers shooting at citizens. 3 years ago, before my tour of duty, there was a situation in Chaguanas where for 3 hours, gang members were shooting at each other and shooting up the place in Chaguanas, and police officers did not venture there. We started reaching situations like in Jamaica, certain areas, certain blocks. I decided on my watch, no block, no area, nowhere could belong to criminal elements that would mean that law enforcement can't get in there. So if it is that we want to reduce the number of police shootings, what we have to do is to reduce the number of times that persons will shoot at police officers. You would love to have the situation, I would love to have the situation similar to the London Metropolitan Police. Police officers do not carry firearms. And the reason for that is because in the United Kingdom, you cannot get an illegal firearm. It is virtually impossible. Here, it is easier to get an illegal firearm than most things. So because of the easy access to illegal firearms, criminals will shoot at police officers to defend themselves or to protect their property, or, well, after they commit a crime, and the police officers will be obligated under the minimum use of force to fire back. I am not saying that every single shooting was justified. That is why you have a PCA, that is why we have a PSB, and those matters would be investigated.
We don't seem to get anywhere with those investigations, though. We seem to have, the last time I spoke with the PCA director would have been some months ago. One of the issues he pointed out to me is that when you have a coroner's inquest, it takes forever. When you have to get even documents from the police service, sometimes there are blockages there. So are we really trying to solve these police-involved killings? Because I think people get frustrated. People get frustrated when they feel as if they can't get answers and they can't get their justice.
Yeah. Well, I know the PCA would admit that this is the best they've ever been in collaboration and communication with the police. As soon as there's a police shooting, we immediately contact them. That could do so much. My personal view to minimize the possibility and the concern that the public would have of police abusing their authority would be to make sure that we have that evidence as it happens, which is why I am pushing, hopefully very soon, every police officer who is on the beat must have a body camera. it has been very difficult for me over the last several months. I wanted that since August last year, but because of funding, now it has been, I got some funds, and I intend that all police officers from that will be on the front line, because I have 8,000 police officers. I'm not going to issue 8,000 body cameras, but every police officer who's on the front line, that's the interagency task force, all the task force officers, special operation response team, SWAT, the GB, MOPS, the emergency response patrol, the CID, every police officer who goes out, you turn on your body camera. And the only persons who would be offended by this would be criminal elements, because now you'll be exposed, or rogue police officers who would have abused their authority. Because the body cameras is not just for police officers for us to have the game of, aha, we catch them. But it would now allow the police officer to defend himself, to see the facts that took place. Because you know this lady in the towel always turns up, the Only Too Wicked posse. And the Only Too Wicked, when she always turns up. The 55 police shootings, everybody sees the police shooting. The 396 persons killed, nobody sees it.
So the reason for that, Commissioner, is that people expect that the police is there to protect and to serve. People probably have a whole different response and reaction to, you know, man-on-man violence, because at the end of the day, both of you are duking you out. But when the police gets involved and we see the police as an entity that is there to protect us, of course people are going to respond.
Natalie, 2 15-year-old boys were killed in Laventille. We can't be saying that 396 persons killed. It's man-on-man. We have women being raped and murdered. We have children being killed. And nobody in the community see at any time, 396, not one. Every time there's a police shooting, the marish and the parish and people who have vision like Steve Austin and $6 Million Man, they see through walls, they saw what happened. How could 55 police shootings, everyone sees, the lady in the towel, they're too wicked, they put their hands in the air, they saw it. But the 396 murders, no one saw. That's my point. The body cameras, every police officer, as soon as you come out of your vehicle, you go to get you a warrant, you go on the beat, you turn it on, so now it will protect any police officer who does not want that. You are a rogue police officer, because now you can see for yourself if that person fired at you first. Likewise, if it is that you abuse your authority, now we can have evidence to show, and you can't come and try to say, well, the man had a firearm. So this is a win-win situation.
I agree that the body cameras would definitely help. I don't even know. Let us hope that it helps more than how it helps in the U.S., because we see body cameras, we see people being basically murdered, and somehow you'll still have a story. Everybody's entitled to their defense anyway. But, you know, let's take, for example, Kern Richards and his death. We saw, of course, the family giving one story, the police officers giving one story. I think for me as a journalist, one of the things I've always observed with the police service is that whenever a firearm is recovered, we normally get details. The kind of firearm, you know, whether or not there were rounds, you know, how much rounds were fired, how many spent shells were recovered. We got nothing of that nature in this particular instance, and I think that gives us reason for doubting.
Well, you know, again, because of with ballistic testing in North America, if it is that there's a police shooting, within 7 days you will get all of the results from the ballistic testing. In this country, it'll take you 7 years. By that time, the witnesses will disappear. The person who may be implicated, he has gone. And that is why it is we need to speed up the process with that ballistic testing. We now have our own facility that would assist us, similar with forensic testing. So these things would assist. But I do agree with you that, but again, sometimes if there's an investigation, you're not going to reveal too much to the public. But again, going back to
No, I'm just saying that normally from the police service, we always get that. Glock 47 was recovered at the scene with 3 live rounds.
You mean for this particular?
Right. So
okay.
how, if a gun was recovered at the scene, and people, the thing is, for me, it's credibility and believability. How do we get the population to buy into the fact that this is really what happened, when there's just that absence of detail that's normally provided? We'd normally get a photo of the weapon, we'd normally get the specification of the weapon, the rounds, all of that. What happened to that kind of detail?
Even so, preliminary inquiries, should that be given to the public? Because you'll hear the usual thing.
But it's normally given to the public.
I know it's normally given, but again...
So then what changed with this particular situation?
I stay far away from actual investigations. I can't query it. I have a new newly appointed Deputy Commissioner of Police dealing with intelligence and investigation. He is very good. He has done a lot to transform the
ballistics unit.
Yeah, the ballistics unit forensic department. It has increased the detection rate, and so we probably there could be a change, because this thing usually and a weapon was found on the individual. It says nothing. The PCA, as I said, they do a lot in their investigation. They work closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, which shows the importance of the PCA. I would prefer that the PCA will get more teeth, similar to the internal affairs.
If a firearm is recovered from a scene, what happens with that firearm? Walk us through the process about what happens with that.
Well, again, you'll be ballistic testing. You will ascertain if rounds were actually fired. You will be able to pinpoint the shells, and then try to link the shells with the weapon. You will look at fingerprints. So there's a lot of work that is done through the forensic department.
But where does the firearm itself go?
The forensic department. That unit, they will do all the ballistic testing. You can actually look at the shells and then link the shells to see that it was with the firearm.
Or in other words, the story that the police gave is actually accurate.
Yes, and then you have the cordite that you will have of the individual to see if he actually fired the weapon. You will have it on the hand of the individual. So there's a lot of work that is done. But because the backlog, as I said, these things can take 7 days. But because of the backlog, it will take several years. And
so it's still taking years even to this
day? Well,
day?
because of the unit that we have now, it would assist us greatly to speed up the process.
Right. And what kind of time frame are we looking at now to get that kind of ballistics report?
I honestly wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to give confirmation. Every single investigation could have different merit on. It could take longer sometimes. I mean, even if you have something with forensic testing, sometimes you have to take information with DNA and so forth and send it to the United Kingdom, several months, hundreds of thousands of pounds. We now have our own lab where we're trying to get this now without having to send this to the United Kingdom to bring it back and then have.
And those labs are run by police officers as well.
Yes.
So how do we get to the accountability? Because one of the things I remember several years ago when we had what they called Prison Gate, when the matter was referred, I think somebody had written to the then Prime Minister, and she referred it back to the Attorney General. And one of the outcry from the population is, how does himself investigate himself?
No, those matters of ballistic testing, forensic testing with DNA and so forth would not involve police shootings. That goes separate. We would not obviously not investigate ourselves with these matters. We are speaking about a situation of a crime scene, and looking at the crime scene, be able to
but isn't it police officers who work with ballistics and stuff in the unit and stuff to sit and go through?
That forensic department has nothing to do with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Okay, that's what I wanted to establish. Okay. All right. So, when you have these special operations, are you always aware, with this, once it's the Special Operations Response Team, when they're going out, is that something that's normally known by you or approved by you?
No. I do not micromanage. If it is that obviously we get enough intelligence of a major operation, I may be personally involved, as you would have seen on several operations. Right. Or I would be briefed prior to. But on many occasions, sometimes you will get information at the spur of the moment. Sometimes it will be a situation whilst on patrol, there would be an incident and confrontation. So on many occasions, I will find out immediately after the incident.
Right. And do we always have those search warrants? That was one of the issues I think people raised about whether or not there was a search warrant for, in this particular instance, in Kern Richards' searching of the property. Was there a search warrant?
Well, Natalie, again, I do not. We are trying to specify, as the Commissioner of Police, I can't be doing any interview to specify a particular case. That's what we're doing now. We're focusing on Richards. I cannot give any information of a matter that is being investigated. Suppose there was not, then police officers have something to account. Suppose there is. So I can't give details of any matter that is being investigated, because now we are trying to deal with a case.
No problem. Yeah. But let's talk about those two murder accused who were killed in police custody. As the Commissioner of Police, I think since I've been here, that's the first I've ever witnessed anything like that. How does that make you feel, though?
It does. Well, the fact of the matter is, until there's a proper investigation, we will know exactly what happened. You see, people are throwing, and I mean, everything we love to throw is on the Special Operation Response Team. Half of the persons who are being investigated were from SORT. And yet again, persons are not aware of it. There are a number of persons from different arms of the protective services that are also being investigated. But we love to use this sorting. And there's a reason for this. The Special Operation Response Team, every single officer there is polygraphed to make sure that they are not involved in questionable activity. When I started this tour of duty, I realized that there were many persons within the police service that they have their agenda and they assisted greatly in causing crime. That Trojan horse has made it very difficult for me. Having that unit now, so if, for example, if we had a tip-off somewhere, you go to that station, there will be one officer in that station that will be able to tip off the gang member, whoever the police are coming in on an operation. So by having that independent body similar to SWAT or other units, we were able to deal with, when last have you heard about kidnapping for ransom? We were able to crack so many different operations, money laundering, human trafficking, child prostitution, so many things that SWAT has been able to do. Because of that, there are persons here who have an agenda, because SWAT is going to crack down on many persons in the business sector, probably politicians, probably persons in the police service. So they know what they are doing. So they push the SWAT agenda, push. You recall the DSS. They said it was SWAT and they had the person sticking money in there. It was not SWAT. So the first thing they love to call is SWAT. It doesn't mean that SWAT is perfect. Nothing in the world is perfect. If 2 or 3 officers may have gone overboard and done something incorrectly, it would be thoroughly investigated and those persons will be made to account.
I wasn't even talking about SWAT in this particular instance because I'm not sure who are the officers who were involved. I'm just asking you, as the Commissioner of Police, to know that you had 2 murder accused in the custody of the police officers and they ended up dead. How does that make you feel?
Well, what it makes you feel, if anyone is killed in this country, obviously, if 55 persons were killed by the police, it is nothing that will please any commissioner of police. The fact of the matter is persons have been killed. I've listened to comments by persons across the country on this matter, and it is alarming. Persons some take pleasure, some want to nail persons to the cross without an investigation.
Come on, Commissioner, I think it's because you talk about drop off a chair and die, really?
Okay, let's go to that. I never said that.
What did you say?
No, you just tell me what did I say.
What did you say? I saw the press conference and some reference. If I did not quote you accurately, correct me, Commissioner.
But that's the point.
Correct me.
But I am doing this now. At no time did I ever say that.
What did you say, Commissioner?
I did not say that. That's the point. I did not say that.
You didn't say anything about dropping off a chair,
no,
really?
No. You said that someone died by dropping off a chair. That is a blatant lie. And all of that is the agenda of criminal elements who just want to find things. So in that
press conference, you didn't say anything about anybody dropping off a chair?
I never said that. I was given... Okay, so if Natalie, if you get a heart attack and you fall off the chair, people say, oh, it's because Natalie died because she fell off the chair? Think about it.
No.
If somebody is in the hospital...
I understand that. I'm just asking you if you didn't say anything about that.
But I am now telling you. So if, for example... if, for example, I am stating what happened, the person was held, he was seated, he didn't want to be on a bed, and then whilst he was on the chair, he collapsed. How could that mean that I said he died because he dropped off a chair? You have to have probably one brain cell to think that is alluding to the fact that the commissioner is saying the person died because he fell off a chair. I have a 3-year-old nephew that has more brain cells than an adult that will think, because I said that he was on a chair, he was sitting on a chair, and then he collapsed. That means he died because he fell off a chair? My God.
All right, Commissioner. I see we have some semantics with words here, but that's all right.
Show me where it is I said someone died because he fell off a chair.
I never at any time told you that you said somebody died because they fell off a chair.
Well, that's the point.
I said to you that maybe people are responding the way they do because at the press conference...
So if you get a heart attack now you fell off a chair, people say, oh, Natalie died because she fell off a chair? Really? Really?
Well, you see, you just repeated what I was asking, so I think we're on the same page with that. But, Commissioner, we are almost 3 years into your term. What would you say it is that you've been able to achieve as the Commissioner of Police? That one thing that you'd say, stand out amongst all the things that you've done thus far?
Persons will always try to measure the police service by crime reduction or increase. If crime goes up, the police will be blamed. If crime goes down, you thank COVID or whatever. Last year was the highest reduction in crime in the last 35 years in this country. Now, all the experts, Natalie, will all say, oh, it's because of COVID. But Jamaica just 2 weeks ago had 21 murders in about 48 hours. There has been an increase in several countries at COVID, all over North America. Some have increased, some have decreased. But when you look at COVID, for example, what happens with COVID? It means that sometimes the economy will shrink, belts have to tighten, persons will lose their job, unemployment is always a catalyst
So that's
now.
your proudest thing that you've been able to get?
No, I've reached there. I was just trying to show one of the things that people speak about is crime reduction. So yes, there's been a massive reduction, but that means very little to me in comparison to public trust and confidence in the police service. And I think that is more important. I will not be here forever.
Do you believe that the police service has that? Has that trust
It moved
and
from
confidence?
14% 4 years ago to over 55% now. And that is a remarkable achievement. It doesn't mean that we are perfect, but very few police services or forces in the world can boast that for every 2 persons you ask, 1 person will say, I'm okay with the police service. And you don't have that. Most persons see the police service, everything. If you lose a test match, a cricket match, you blame the police service. Anything happens, you blame the police service. We have reached from 14% a few years ago to over 50%, which means that the public is starting to buy into the fact that, listen, we're not perfect, but we're getting there. Things that we have done to improve the police service to ensure a greater degree of accountability, measurement of performance, better leadership, better management, it is there. And it is not just about reducing crime. It has to do with the interaction with the public. I have a lot of work to do. You would have seen recently how police officers react to the public. I have serious issues with that still. We have simulation theaters to assist police officers in the use of force. I am now putting simulation theaters now for police officers to know how to interact with the public, how you speak to the public, how you deal with them. You saw the situation a few days ago with the U.S. Army lieutenant, how he was dealt with by the police because the police didn't like how he was acting. They pepper sprayed him and tased him. I have to get police officers to understand that your employer, the person you work for, would be the citizen, and you have to treat them with that manner and that respect, and not what we would have probably seen years ago in a roadblock. Oh God, and you're going to let me get a driver's permit. That has to change. I have to put heavy emphasis, not just on the recruits, but all police officers who are in the front line to understand how to speak, how to interact, and how to respect your employer, that being the citizen.
And what do you say to the citizens in their reactions and you know, how they deal with and respond to the police officers?
Likewise, there are situations which, again, with the importance of the body cameras, the minimum use of force policy. We have persons now, things that they do with police officers here, you will never do if you go to North America. A police officer will tell you go across that line, but here our rights are so important. So a police officer may be arresting someone, and then you will have persons, the same lady with the towel, the only too wicked posse, she will be right up on the police officer, pushing the camera in the police officer's face. Those police officers have a right now to retaliate, because now you could have a knife, you could have a gun. And citizens need to understand that if the police are involved in an investigation, arresting someone, you can't play judge to say the man did nothing wrong, leave him alone, look at police brutality. Let the police do their job, and if it is the police abuse their authority, there would be a time and place where that person will get redress. You can't do it on the spot, because now you're endangering the police officer, and it can cause confrontation.
And
so
it takes us right back to where we started, Commissioner, where people probably are trying to treat with the issue on the spot because they don't believe that the system is going to give them the kind of response or to get closure, the closure that they need, because something like that happens and you die waiting for an outcome. You know?
That is true, and which is why we need to put systems. Now, again, you have the PCA, but the PCA, they are bombarded with so many violent crime that would have probably been of accusations by police officers. So what you may see simple of a police officer abusing a citizen or treating them with disrespect, that might be low down the pecking order for the PCA. They have a lot of work to do. We are doing ours as well through the Professional Standards Bureau of the Police Service, and we have a complaints authority. One of the things that will cause a problem for me to increase it as quickly as possible and improve that standard is that there are very few, the consequences is very low. So a police officer who may, say, take a vehicle and do wheelies on the beach, for example, or abuses authority, if someone takes the police they take this to court, it goes to the Attorney General. The state now has to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars because of a police officer doing something wrong. So he knows to himself that, listen, there's nothing that I am not going to get sued if I do something wrong. So what are you
going to do to change that? Is there anything that the commissioner can do?
I am drafting, because there's an act, I forgot the name of the act, there's an act, a state act that makes it that the police officer, because I am working for the state, you can't sue me, you have to sue the state. I am drafting something and give the Attorney General, I need to make sure, no, I'm not talking about a police officer in hot pursuit where property is damaged, whatever. In the performance of your duty, fine. But if you abuse your authority, in other words, you attack someone or you have done somewhere damaged property, you have broken into a house without a warrant, you must be culpable. There must be something that you must know to yourself, that there are checks and balances that you would have to pay the price.
But Commissioner, I hear you, but we still come back to the same point. How long that investigation is going to take to say, okay, you're culpable, so you pay your legal fees?
That doesn't take long. What happens is that, like, for example, if there's an investigation, you could go to court. You can sue the state because of what a police officer may have done. But again, in these situations, it goes to the Attorney General. But because of our complaints authority and the complaints unit in the police service and the PSB, if we realize someone has done something wrong, what we usually do is then we send it to the state.
So you're trying to intervene where it goes to the complaints unit as compared to the Attorney General's office.
So instead of court and then having to take it to court, we can now say, listen, you have damaged property, you have abused this person, whatever. You could pay the price. Now, some police officers would not like this, but my point is that if it is you did something wrong, you should be part and parcel of paying the price, not the taxpayers who have to now pay because of your shortcomings.
All right, Commissioner, we do have to leave it there, but thank you so much, as usual, for coming and sitting and speaking with us on the Now Morning Show.
Always my pleasure.
Yes.
Take care.
Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith, we take that short break and we'll be right back with you.
Marcus Garvey say, up you mighty people, so we stand firm and we never run from evil.